Yes. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on Tuesday. We're all talking about it. Did the brother get up there on the stage of the Oscars and smack the poo poo out of Chris Rock? He did that, right? We're all talking about it, man. It's like crazy. My goodness, let's get right into it. I mean, we have a lot of things to talk about on today. Hope you're doing okay. Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Do me a favor before we get into this. If you're looking at this on the YouTube, right, we're trying to boost our little listeners. And so I need you to like and subscribe our channel, Coffee Conversations with Greg J. It's out there. All right. So everybody's talking about it. Will Smith at the Academy Awards gets up there and smacks, like literally, like really, like a pow, smacks Chris Rock because Chris Rock is up there talking about Jada Pinkett, made some sort of reference to her short haircut and GI Jane, and Will didn't appreciate it, stepped to the stage and smacked him. Everybody's like talking about it. Let's get my good friend, Thordell Jones is here all the way from Florida. Let me see. Wait, my mouse. There he Thordell.
I'm in the show. All right. That's great.
Man, it's good to see you, my brother.
It's
Everything
good to be
good?
seen. Yes, it's good to be seen.
Let's tell the people a little bit about it. Got a lot of friends out there in this industry, been working at it a long time. A lot of people, we're journeymen in this and journeywomen in this space, right? I even have people who
Yes.
are actually working on the show. It's like all
That's
our
right.
years of doing this work in the entertainment industry and whatever discipline we have mastered, we have seen it. All
Right.
right.
And we
Off
feel like we've
just
seen it all. And then something happens like this, and we're like, ooh, we
ooh.
haven't seen that one yet.
So what's your thought? What was your reaction?
Well, as I was sharing with you earlier, when you invited me to be on this morning, I've been working like a dog, and um, I honestly hadn't heard that Will Packer was producing the show. Obviously, I knew that Will was up for Best Actor because of his role in King Richard, which was fantastic. That movie brought me to tears on many occasions,
Mhm.
and but I'm kind of focused, and we'll obviously get into that later. I'm just kind of focused on the Grammys that are happening next week and stuff like that. So after a grueling 6 days work week, I went out for a cocktail,
Hey.
and I'm out, and people at the bar are like looking at their phones, going, Will Smith punched Chris Rock on the Oscars, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then they started passing around the phone, and I saw the footage, and of course, I am dying, and my first response was, okay, they finally got to him. You know, I have my family. We are a very smart family of people, and there's a lot of cousins. There's 19 of us on a text group,
Mhm.
and so the next day, people are starting to pick this apart and unpack it, and
Mhm.
there were all kinds of takes on it. But personally, I was like, you know,
Mhm.
yes, it was absolutely unfortunate on so many different levels. Yes, it sends the wrong signal on so many different levels. But you know what? I got to say, I understood it, and despite all the downsides, it's like you want to put people in a box and ask them to be performing monkeys, and you forget that they're people. And so, Frenchie Davis said it the other day. It's just like, we act like, okay, all this conversation, oh, violence is not everything, et cetera, et cetera. But, as if words don't hurt. We say we try to teach our kids, or we used to, at least when I was a kid, sticks and stones can break my bones, but names can never hurt me. This is in response for us. It was in response to little white kids calling us the N-word, right?
Yep. Yep.
But bullying is a thing, and, while my sister is great for saying, well, they signed up for this when they, are so open about their relationship and things of that nature. But, Chris Rock came for her back in 2016.
Sure did.
They, Chris and him and Will have a relationship from working, being comedians and actors and stuff like that, but they work together on Ali, whatever. So my take on it in the moment when I first discovered it is there is more to this than just that incident. There's layers to this. We will probably never know it all, right?
Right, because it seems like he's been coming after her for a really long time. This is not the first time.
Yeah, like she's the butt of his jokes for some reason. I don't know, other than the Oscars, maybe when he's out on tour, he says things. I don't know. But
I didn't see that when I saw him. And I had great seats. I was front row at the Dolby Theater. It's Chris Rock. And it was one of the best comedy shows I had ever been to. And I don't recall him ever mentioning Jada Pinkett Smith.
Well, she was there in the front row, and he took the jab at her for the second time. And yeah, people are quick to note that Will initially laughed, and then he noticed her reaction, and then the processing of that turned into this rage. Now, when I first saw it, I was just like, oh my God, he punched him. But then, we learned later it was a slap. An open-handed slap, and we have the still shot of it to show just the hand, whatever. And I'm just like, does that make it better? Does that make it worse? Does it make it disruptive? But I'm going to bet that these are some of the highest ratings for an Oscar show in a long, long time.
Funny you should say that. One of my online newsletters came through this morning. I hadn't read it yet because I'm getting prepared for the show, but the Oscar ratings are up.
And you know what? We are in America, and it's capitalism, and baby, the advertisers are happy because they got more eyeballs. I hate to be that cut and dry about it, but I'm in show business. This is not show friends. This is show business.
That's right.
And apparently there was an upside to this. Now, are we going to speak to ethics and moral responsibility and things of that nature? I think it's very important to do that. As Black men, I think it's very important. I mean, we have this burden that is, particularly here in the United States, that is unearned, I would say. It's unearned, where, we were told as gentlemen of a certain age, that we had to be better than our mainstream counterparts, twice as good, as a matter of fact. Excellence was the bar. And and I think that Will Smith as a man has exemplified that. His narrative coming from West Philly, winning the first Grammy for rap music, and then coming to Hollywood and doing the whole, turning his life into the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and everything. Just like everything about that is a harbinger for excellence. I love how, at least he's seemingly transparent. His social media is popping. At 50 years old, he's still on trend and relevant. How many of us, get to be 50 years old and are still culturally relevant? So, I think that he's done a great job of remaining relevant. And but I would also say that we are in a very precarious time when it comes to this concept of cancel culture. The idea that people can be, their body of work can be erased because of an incident or the discovery of some transgression from many years ago that gets brought to light or whatever. I think it's, maybe it's just, how I was raised and or the spiritual principles that work in my life.
Right.
I'm more willing to forgive humanness than other people. Um, and I'm not saying I'm the only one. I'm just saying that
Mhm.
I'm in that tribe of people who is about forgiveness.
I feel you 200% on that one. It's interesting though. I think that the incident not only was it bad behavior, but I think it hurt our strides as we advocate for more diversity, on these productions and everything like that. Here you have the Academy Awards, and Will Packer's the producer, and it's all black production crew. Folks is out there working, man. It's like it's going down, and then you know, here these guys come, and I really uh, think that it hurt the culture in that aspect. The other piece is I feel for the other winners of the Oscars. I mean, pretty much, me and you made a film, Darnell, and we, after all our stuff, and you know how we do, we try to put this stuff together by hook or crook out here in
Sure,
this
sure.
industry, and all of a sudden we get picked up, Darnell and Greg J. Oscars, right? And then Will Smith slaps Chris Rock, and now our story is no more.
Well, it's interesting. I think well, yes. I think that the losers in this absolutely are the people who came on the show after that point. The
Mhm.
first person who didn't get their shine is Amir, Questlove,
Mhm.
and that movie Summer Soul
Man,
was insane,
man.
insane. I was a little kid when it happened, and I didn't go there, but I know Mount Morris Park, and I'm sitting there watching this, and I had to stop it on several occasions because I just got so emotional.
Mhm.
And then you have um, Nina Simone singing "Young, Gifted, and Black," and I lose it.
Yes, 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 yes.
I lose it. Such an awesome film, so well done, so musical and so artistic, and just a wonderful piece of work. And yes, it was a shame that the moment was lost in that all that noise,
Mhm, mhm.
but he still won.
He still
He
won.
still won, and you cannot take that away from him.
Can't take it. Well, I don't know. They having the meeting right now.
No, the pundits are like, it's unlikely they'll take the Oscar away, but it's um, it's not up to us, right?
Mhm.
It's not up to us. But I'm just saying, in terms of a mirror, then they can't take the Oscar away.
The last thing I noticed, man, is I was watching, you know, Gail King and them's my favorite morning news, national morning news,
Hmm.
and she had a young writer. The young woman's name was Hannah Wortham. I
Hmm.
think she's writing for the New York Times, I think. And so, a young writer, and she's kind of analyzing the situation, and she's still in culture shock like everybody else. Everybody's kind of like frozen, like, did that really happen? So she's the same, but she was expressing her observations, and it became also how I heard it. Look, I could be wrong. I'm just telling you what I heard. Okay, so it became kind of a condemnation of black masculinity. She had a problem with how aggressive my brother walked up to, slapped him, and his voice, the bass in his voice when he said, "Keep my," but you know how we talking, man. So this is how we get down, right? And so I guess now I just felt like, okay, now here we are demonizing the black male behind this act of foolishness, that happened between Will Smith and Chris Rock. I mean, I was listening to Ricky Smiley, man. Shoot, I'm gonna stand on my manhood now, dang it. But they should have handled it in a different way. That should have yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. That should have. I mean, there's really no getting beyond that fundamental fact. That was something that, he should have ran backstage and clocked him on the head when as soon as he got off stage. I mean, hell, that would have been a bigger surprise, right?
you know, crazy.
But I am I I got to take this to another place because, you know, Kanye was disinvited from the Grammys over
Yes.
some of his
I was about to ask you about that.
volatile behavior
Yeah, 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 yeah.
on social media. The fact that, you know, he went so far to do the claymation video of the murder of Pete Davidson. I'm like, you know, call it art, whatever you want, but you know, there's something lurking in his mind, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm.
Kanye already had a Grammy incident where he went up on stage and grabbed the mic from Taylor Swift.
Arguably the moment that launched her into superstardom.
You might say that. You might say that. You might say that. But you know, needless to say, he is a superstar and a billionaire, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But like, you know, with all of this bubbling in the background, do you, as producers of the show, do you say, okay, Kanye, you're invited, you can sit here, whatever, and then open yourself up to what just happened on the
Mhm,
Oscars?
mhm,
Because he's mad at somebody who did something? I don't know. The preemptive strike was, you know, maybe a little bit premature, but, you know, at the same time, I understand that you don't want to open yourself up to that. And that kind of proved to them that if people's public, um, you know, very public uh, behavior is a harbinger of what could come next,
mhm,
then, you know, you might say, hey, please don't come and bring all that foolishness with you.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
I don't,
You know,
I,
before we move forward, Thornell, thank you so much for coming on at the last minute. I just wanted to get this conversation in, and we were gonna connect with our brother out in KwaZulu Natal. You and I know that area very well, and he's having a hard time checking in. So we have time. If you have time, we're gonna keep on chopping it up. I want to talk about the Grammys if you have time.
I have time. I
Okay,
do.
cool, cool,
Yeah.
good, good. You know, everybody, Thornell is a marketing executive extraordinaire behind all of the music that you all love and hear on the radio and even buy or download or whatever. You know, there's marketing minds behind that, and so I love the fact that Thornell is the marketing mind behind Jill Scott. No Thornell Jones Jr., no Jill Scott. That's what I say. And there's a list that looks like, you know, the Hollywood Walk of Fame on his resume, you know. And Thornell and I have also been instrumental at organizing cultural exchanges with our brothers and sisters, industry brothers and sisters over in Africa. We've hosted, I think, two or three exchanges with the South African Broadcast Corporation and the South African Traditional Music Awards, and we brought, you know, radio personalities and artists to the recording studio where they made "We Are the World," and we brought Donnell went into his Rolodex, brought us some dope, you know, artists and musicians. Man, one year we had Michael Bearden, the musical director of doggone Michael Jackson.
Right.
Are you serious? You know,
Right.
and so we've done some really good things with one of my partners in crime right here. And he's very active in the Recording Academy. There's a seriousness. I mean, we look at the Grammy Awards and great, it's a show and all that. But, you know, the Recording Academy is an institution, you know, in our industry, a very serious institution, helping these composers and artists, you know, thrive in their craft, giving them resources and education and all that kind of stuff. And Thornell's very active. And I don't think there's a lot of brothers, African Americans, you know, in that mix doing it, you know, but Thornell is right there. And I was pleased, you guys, to see that he is running to be a governor of the chapter out there in Florida, where he's located nowadays. And it's just an honor and a privilege to have him on here and just know that, you know, many years as I've known him, as many entertainment industry shenanigans we have created out here, that my brother is, you know, in that mix because he actually absolutely deserves a seat there. And so Thornell, congratulations on there. If you need a campaign manager, I'll right here. Let's get it. You know,
I
and
appreciate that. what, you know, and the interesting thing about what you said is you framed it perfectly. When I was a little kid, and you know, obviously that we're back to vinyl being a thing now, but when we were young, you know, we'd get the LP and we'd spend time reading the credits, right? So, you know, you start reading people's bios and things of that nature. And of course, you know, there wasn't as much noise in the media. So it was like this thing about the National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences, NARAS, Recording
Yes.
Academy, the Grammys. It was this thing. And so I was an aspiring artist. And I said to myself, one day I want to be part of Grammys. I want a Grammy, want a Grammy.
Mhm.
And then when I made a pivot and decided, you know, actually my gift is helping artists manifest their dreams into reality, then it became even more important for me to become a member of the Recording Academy because I know that it was the top tier of the industry. So now, whatever anybody says, oh, you know, as Black people, we need to start our own awards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's all kinds of things what that you can say. And yet I look around me and my experience tells me that being part of the Recording Academy transformed my career.
Mhm.
22 years ago, actually around the time that Jill Scott broke, I earned enough credits to become a um, a voting member of the recording meeting. So I have now been a voting member for 22 years, and that has given me access to all kinds of opportunities to participate, to serve, to advocate, to talk, you know, to our members of the House of Representatives about the needs of artists and increasing, you know, statutory royalty rates and then of course, you know, being a champion for new artists because that's really where my heart lies. Um, but you know, being in LA for 25 years, I always felt like, you know, yes, I mean, I guess I can make a difference there, but there's so much talent there, right? There's so many people there. And about 3 years ago, I decided I'm moving to Florida. And one of the things at the very top of my list was I am finally going to join the chapter governance of the Florida chapter so that I can bring my network of relationships and resources to this artist community to help them thrive. So,
Mhm.
you know, that is my mission. And I am so glad that I've had this opportunity to finally be on the ballot. I, you know, I got here during the middle of the pandemic, so the networking has been pretty slim.
Mhm.
But I've had the opportunity to meet some wonderful producers and artists, um, you know, who themselves, you know, were kind of cynical about the Grammys at one point. And there's one guy, a producer, um, who produced a big hit for Coffee called "Izzy, Are You Kidding Me?" And he says, you know, I never paid attention to them. And then when I won one, I was just like, oh, what is this about? You know, what is it
Mhm.
about? You know, to be part of the Recording Academy. Now he's all in, right?
Right.
And I'm so proud of him because, you know, he recognized that, you know, this was an opportunity for him as not just a creative, but as a music business professional to elevate um, his game. Um, it's there like I said, there's this narrative about you know, whether the Grammys are relevant and things of that nature. And you know, I absolutely believe that they're relevant. I think that um, and I'll be honest, completely transparent about this. I've always been an advocate for Black artists and uh, uh, Black creatives in the music business space within the Recording Academy, and my loud voice was not necessarily appreciated.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I would say that that had been changed, that needle had been moving over time. And then
Mhm.
for so many other environments, in the wake of the social justice movement that happened after the murder of George Floyd, and the conversation about race really coming and being put on the table, we have seen the Recording Academy make tremendous strides in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm very proud of the organization for taking on that challenge because, candidly, if they hadn't, then they would not be able to stand there and say that they're relevant, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know,
Let's dig into the Grammy for a minute here. I really do appreciate it because it is when I've been in the press room, I've never in all my years, I've never sat in the audience. I've always been in the press room, but it's always exciting for me because there's journalists from all over the world in there.
that's
It's
right.
like, it's pretty cool. And then when you come, the part that's not televised, I mean, all of the awards of every conceivable form of music, like best Hawaiian song, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like really, it's dope, when you see this stuff in. And so, what happens though, Thornell? I am still, this is years ago. There was, I believe the artist is Patti Smith,
Uh-huh.
who is a folk singer. In that particular year, she released an album of sacred or gospel music.
Hmm.
She was up against like Marvin Sapp, Hezekiah Walker, like the who's who of gospel music in that category. It was the traditional gospel music, and she won. And I was like, okay, what happened? What happens in the voting process when it seemingly an artist comes out of nowhere and wins the category when they clearly should not have?
Okay, so what I have to say is, um, we're going to talk about old way, new way.
Okay.
All right. So I think that in the last two years specifically, but in the last year, the Academy has really put some rules in place to help, focus the voting in, you know, genre categories, um, in such a way that people who are actively involved in making of that kind of music
Mhm.
are principally responsible for voting on the records in those categories. Until these rule changes were made, um, you know, basically, anyone within a certain number of categories that they could vote in, um, could vote wherever they wanted to, based upon, their taste or, wherever it is their interests lie. I happen to be one of those people who has interest across the board musically, rock
Mhm.
music,
Mhm.
hip
Mhm.
hop, jazz,
Mhm.
classical, Americana. I'm just a music guy, right? And I played viola for 9 years and went to college. Because I played viola, they wanted me in the orchestra. I'm just like, so music is just innate in me. So sometimes
Okay.
I would vote in the arrangement categories.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Eh, Um, and now they've kind of curtailed that. There's a little bit of pushback on it, but because
Mhm.
I do believe as musicians, there are people who do ply their trade in multiple categories and stuff like that. So now they've kind of brought it down. But in the past, someone who was popular, who did an album that was outside of their, core, what they were known for, could conceivably be voted in if their, I'll just say their fan base within the academy
Mhm.
followed them wherever they put a record, right?
Mhm.
Um, what I would say is every category and the submissions in those categories are reviewed by a panel of experts to make sure that they belong there before the ballot closes, right?
Mhm.
So what that meant was the gospel committee agreed that that record by Patti Smith belonged in the gospel category, right? So it met their criteria for being a gospel album. So yes, Marvin Sapp, you know, Minister Shirley Caesar, BB Winans, whomever else was in the category at that time, were now, you know, being judged against competing against somebody who was an quote unquote interloper in the category. Yet the committee determined that that music that she made belonged in the category, right? That can still happen, right? That can still happen because Greg J, who's known for marketing at one of the most legendary Black music channels, radio stations in the country, is a seasoned marketer and could conceivably go across town and figure out how to do the marketing at the rock station and be just as successful because you're a marketing maven, just the same way as you're a music artist, right? So we can't say to people, oh, you can only be in this one little box because that's what we know you as, right? If you decide that you're going to go do something else and you excel at it, you might be mad, but how can I front on you for that?
That's a true statement. That's a true statement. I just felt like, no, foul.
No, I understand where that comes from. I absolutely understand where that comes from. But trust me, there were people who had that conversation behind the scenes ahead of time. Would you be okay if this artist won this category? And they had to say to themselves, well, she's talking about Jesus.
Yeah. Wow, that's really, really something. All right, so one of our favorite categories, my brother, because we have traveled to the continent and did our thing. World music categories. I see our girl Angelique Kidjo is up for 2 awards. What's your pick?
Oh my goodness! Well, global music has been my thing for a long, long time. And the irony is, I didn't really get out in the world until much later in my career. But the last 5 years, Spotify tells you, what your number one categories are for music, and it has been Afrobeat for an Afropop for the last 5 years, right? So the irony of that is, after that comes 70s pop music. So it's like, what is it? Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I am. It's a challenge because there's some really good records in there that aren't even as popular. But I think, and Angelique is definitely a favorite in global music, which is the new name for world music category. She's won a bunch of Grammys in the category, but I'm going to put my money on WizKid.
Okay.
Yeah.
My sentimental favorite is Rocky Dawuni.
Oh, well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I voted for Rocky Dawuni.
Yes.
I did. I voted for Rocky Dawuni. Yeah. And
that's our guy.
It's interesting. He's from Ghana, but he does reggae music. And that just speaks to the diversity of the diaspora, and how, we embrace it no matter where it's from. Because, the people, from Jamaica could be like, yo, you're not Jamaican, man.
Yeah. But when you're in Ghana, that's what I heard on the radio a lot, reggae, and that's what I saw. And then I went to a Rocky Dawuni show in Accra, Ghana in December.
Oh, okay. See, now you're rubbing it in.
So, but he lives here though.
Yeah, I met him.
Yeah. He's cool cat,
Yes.
So it was really a mind blower to be at my friend's show in his home country. That was a trip, and he rocked that thing. So I'm just hopeful for that. I really like Angelique Kidjo. They did a report on her yesterday on CBS News as they were promoting the Grammys, and she was really adamant in talking about the artists that are coming behind her. So, WizKid, Burna Boy, Yemi Alade, and she mentioned them. How she's seeing this whole thing. As we look at now the evolution of the music listener, the person who appreciates contemporary music, what's your, I guess, assessment or opinion of how contemporary African music has exploded into our consciousness? First of all, how did it happen? And, what do we need to do to expose it more to people? Because now it's in the mainstream consciousness. Yeah,
it absolutely is. So I have to, do my anthropology thing for a second and just speak to the fact that, I mean, you probably know this, but most people don't realize that the median age of people in Africa is 19 and a half.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's a billion two people,
Yep.
you know, billion two. So that means there's a lot of young people.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of young people. So Afrobeat, Afropop is not going anywhere. It may evolve and morph and change just like it does with generations of the music that emulates here from the United States. But, you know, African music is not going anywhere. And I think the advent of social media helps, you know, spread the music faster into the mainstream. But like some of the biggest Afrobeat records actually were made by Afro Brits that ended up coming, you know, it cross-pollinating between Europe and Africa and then coming here. And there's something, I don't know what it is, something about the UK and the American music business. But you know,
well, that probably comes from the British invasion back in the day, but you know,
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That continues.
Yeah.
So then there were, you know, some collabs and stuff like that, and people pretty much attribute, and while I don't know if it's 100% true, that Drake's One Dance song was like the tipping point to bring African music sonics into American pop music consciousness. Now, remember, it is still called Afropop. They've, you know, rebranded it as Afrobeat, which of course caused some confusion because rebranded as Afro Beats.
Yes.
Afrobeat was the music that, well, the name that Fela gave his music.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So this is the anthropology part of it. So
so wait, what's the song you said with Drake's song?
One Dance. I need a one dance.
So he gets credit, eh?
Well, he definitely gets a big piece of, you know, of the credit for the tipping point. Not that he was
thinking Greg J. and Thornell brought the Afrobeat sound to the United States. As many missions that we've been on.
Right.
Yeah, we were listening to the radio and say, "Oh, this is dope."
Yep. You know, and the crazy thing about it is, you know, when we were there in 2015, together in 2015, obviously you've been there many more times since then. You know, house music was huge on the radio there in South Africa, and everybody was laughing at me because I was so excited. The house music song would come on, and I crank up the radio, and they're like, "Oh, it's just a song." I'm like, "No,
right.
You don't understand. We don't have this like on our pop music stations anymore. You're taking me back."
Right.
You know, everything about the industry was just like, you know, the records came out on that Friday. I think it was Black Coffee's second album was coming out, and a friend of mine told me to get it for him. I went to the store, and there was literally a line of people down the mall waiting to get their CDs. I was like, "Oh, I'm in seventh heaven. This is amazing. The music on the radio and stuff like that." So listening to the music evolve and stuff like that is great. And now, you know, coming out of South Africa is the sound called Amapiano.
Yes.
I love it. I'm just over the moon. You know, I used to laugh when I first got in the industry and we'd be in the marketing meetings and people go, "Oh, that's Saturday cleaning up the house music." I was just like, and it is.
Right.
Will get you going. And
they say it's like Kwaito, though, which was the popular sound in the 90s.
Yes, it is.
So like the purists, you'll see them debating the essence of it, you know.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you know, and it just, and there's cross-pollination. There's this there's, you know, Nigerian artists who are now like doing Amapiano remixes and stuff like that. And so you're seeing like stuff happening in their ecosystem that we're being exposed to. But it's, you know, it's great because we're at this juncture where this music is now in the mainstream. And the one thing that I can say is I think it's important that people hold on to the origins of it, right? Because it's so easy for people in the mainstream to kind of like, "Oh, we're going to do that beat that's so popular right now," and like, you know, you hear Ed Sheeran on the Burna Boy remix, and I'm just like, I get it. It's interesting because on one hand, people have said, "Oh, this is an opportunity for Burna Boy to go mainstream," but no, turn it on its other side. It's also an opportunity for Ed Sheeran to be exposed to a billion
Absolutely.
people, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
don't make it.
absolutely.
It's business strategy. In the last 5 years, every major record company has opened a branch in Africa,
Yeah,
and
yeah. A
I
lot of movement in that area now. I see Warner making major moves over on the continent right now.
Warner, Universal, Sony, everybody is making their moves. And, like when people get into positions, they bring their point of views with them. So, like the former head of rap at Spotify um, left Spotify to go to YouTube and then kind of, I mean, you have to understand, and this is part of what I was saying to you before about Africans don't have the infrastructure, telecommunications infrastructure that we had. They never had the landlines like we had, right? They went straight to the new technology. So they have an install base of mobile phones, which is pretty remarkable. And as a consequence, they access everything from their phones. And, if you want free music, where do you go? You go to YouTube, right? So a lot of these African artists, their streams on YouTube are huge. So taking this piece of knowledge, Tumabasa, who's now over at YouTube, pointed out that there was this huge opportunity for YouTube in the music space in Africa, and they did a whole music conference in Lagos. So bringing the thought leaders and the creators from that music economy together to kind of solidify YouTube's position in that music economy, because kids in villages are streaming on YouTube.
So fascinating. Let me ask you. Okay, so this is really great. And man, I know you and me are still lockstep trying to, crack that, international flavor there. We're doing a good job in there. But, going back to the Grammys, you look at all of these great moments. Last time the Grammys, Angelique Kidjo won her award, but she acknowledged Burna Boy. It was 2 years ago. Two Grammy Awards pre-pandemic, if that makes sense to y'all. Okay, right. And so, that just goes to show you the tremendous influence the music genres coming out of the continent that have right now on our national consciousness. But, culturally speaking, with us, give me your best Grammy Award moment. I got a couple of them, but you give me your best.
My like what I thought, like when watching the show,
watching the show or being there, or what have you seen that was the quirkiest thing along the lines of Will Smith? I'll give you an example. Okay, my first example is when Chris Brown smacked Rihanna and the police were looking for him. Look, Staples Center was hot. 5-0 was everywhere.
I do remember that.
Then the other one, when Whitney Houston passed away, that was bad. That
was crazy.
Yeah.
I was at the Beverly Wilshire the night before, the day that it happened, the night before. And I was, I knew something was going on, but I find out until later that after I'd left that something had happened. And I think, in theory, I was walking like right below where her room was. And, that was a really strange time because, there were, I don't know the truth about any of it, but it's like, I know that Ray J was involved somehow. And I remember thinking that was an odd pairing, but you never know, who's who and what's what and why they do what it is they do. But, it was such a tragedy. One of my very best friends, who's Daryl, who rest in peace, was the Whitney Houston fan, and kind of drew me into, her Matrix you know, I love Whitney because, you know, she was from Newark and I was born in Newark, and you know, she did the city proud. But in terms of crazy Grammy moments, I'll tell you my personal favorite was, anyone who knows me knows that, you know, I keep a very full plate and I tend to be run a little bit late. So I I was running a little bit late for the pre-show, and that's where they give out, you know, all the awards that they don't televise, right? And I don't know if it was because I couldn't find parking or what, but I walked into the venue, and my, you know, colleagues from Hidden Beach run up to me and they say, "She won! She won!" Jill Scott won her first Grammy, and I wasn't there to witness it.
How? Come on, Thornell.
I was not even in the room to witness it. I was crushed. That's my personal kind of weird moment. The other weird moment for me.
I was there.
Yeah, I know you were rubbing it in again. My other like weird moment was like you said, you watched the show from the press room, and one year I actually did that myself. Actually, I've done it twice now, but one year I was working with why I'm having you know, my names aren't coming these days. Come on. Okay, so let's go way back. He's from Compton, dark skin, sang the Coke commercial on the bus.
Tyrese,
thank you. Okay, so
Tyrese Gibson for 500, please.
Bing, bing, bing. Okay, so Tyrese has this huge hit with the Nita Baker song, and well, actually, she covered his song, and then he's nominated, and you know, his publicist could not make it out to LA, so he said, "Can you cover Tyrese on the red carpet?" And I said, "Sure." So I'm standing there at the end of the red carpet, waiting and waiting and waiting, and they've called everybody to their seats, and I'm like, "Man, where is he? This is so embarrassing. He's the black guy. He's going to be late for, you know, he's going to miss being in his seat for when the show starts." And the Escalade pulls up, and out jumps Tyrese and Vin Diesel.
Wow.
And they were literally the last people on the red carpet. And I had to escort them down the red carpet through Entertainment Tonight and every other entertainment show. It was pandemonium because, you know, Vin, huge star, right?
Fast and Furious.
Yeah, Fast and Furious. And they did it because the Fast and Furious was just about was teeing up to come out. So it was like perfect promotion. And, you know, my cousins are texting me, "We see you on the red carpet. We see you on the red carpet." I was just like, I'm just here trying to make sure these Negroes get to these seats.
Right. You know, it's hard for people to imagine what we do, man. This is work.
It is work, and it's stressful.
Yeah,
it's stressful. I know my adrenals are worn out after 30 years in the music industry, and I tell people I'm an adrenaline junkie. Always looking for that next high of adrenaline.
Yeah.
And that's probably real.
That's the real talk right there, brother.
Yep.
You know, and when I had another moment when, do you remember the year when, so Lauryn Hill, the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, and she's up against, you know, India Ari. That's the buzz of the whole, you know, Grammys going in is they got all these nominations and who's going to win the most and everything. And I think it was whatever the last one is the record of the year or best album or whatever. And India Ari. I was, okay, so you know how the press room is in the Staples Center. And then there's that part where you can go, they try to keep it blocked with security, but you can go to the ledge and look down and you're literally looking in the backstage of the Grammys, right? You're seeing everything. And so when they're calling the winner is Lauryn Hill. And I saw India Ari off stage in the back, and it was like somebody had socked her in the stomach, man. She doubled over like in just emotional pain and everything. And I witnessed that, and I've always held that in my heart because I'm wondering, other than her, I may have been the only one in the whole world that saw that.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. The agony of defeat.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
The agony. Wow.
mhm,
Well, let me just say this. Um, Lauryn Hill's album was remarkable,
mhm.
and NDRE album was fantastic. And we knew from the very beginning both of these artists would have career. It's
Sure.
interesting how India has continued to put out music and evolve, and it's always stayed true to the spirit of who she is. And we've had to wait for how many decades for Lauren to come out with
Right,
another
right,
record.
right.
It feels a little bit unfair to India.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. See, and the Fugees were supposed to have a reunion tour this year. I was really looking forward to that, and
Me
then
too.
they canceled it. You know, I guess they still can't get along or something.
It sounded like a good idea. I think that when the pandemic stuff starts affecting your ability to actually make the plans,
Mm,
then the hot air gets let out of the balloon.
mm, mm,
So I don't know the reason why, the behind the scenes reason why, but I understand it. It was an idea who I think whose time had come and would have been fantastic for them all. I mean, New Edition's out there cleaning up right now.
mhm, mhm. Yeah,
uh,
it's time. Yeah, people are anxious to get back together and everything, and they are definitely out there making it happen.
yeah, they sure are.
Are you going to the Grammy Awards in Vegas?
The crazy thing about it is, I am going to Las Vegas, but I won't be going to the awards. We're doing a thing called the Jazz Jam on Friday night, at this wonderful new jazz spot in Henderson. We invited all the jazz and Latin Grammy nominees, and the invitations are coming. Responses are coming, which is nice. Most people don't know I actually have roots in jazz. My uncle was the bass player for Count Basie's orchestra for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so as a kid, we had like all the jazz greats around, and of course you didn't know who they were.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Charlie Parker's wife is my cousin's godmother.
Wow,
So it's jazz is always a thing for me. So
that's awesome.
going to Vegas to do that, and they have the Black Music Collective event happening on Saturday.
Mhm,
And then I get on a plane on Sunday and come back to sunny Miami. So
mhm, mhm.
uh, won't be attending the show this year, but I am going out to connect with my Grammy family.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. I'll be headed to Vegas for the NAB.
You know what? I've heard that is a great conference,
Mhm.
the National
It's
Association.
pretty phenomenal, Darnell.
Yeah.
I said, Rhonda, love, you love Henderson. I know you do.
Okay. Henderson, you
Yeah,
brought it.
we will put some miles on those Henderson streets. Looking around, we might do the same coming up. You never know.
It's so funny. The Green Valley Ranch is a great like hotel slash casino. It's very it's right there in Henderson. And we did a thing with Darius Rucker there
Mm,
many moons ago
mhm,
when he did his soul album for Hidden Beach. Um,
mhm, mhm,
we
mhm.
went and we did.
That was a smash when he did that. It came R&B. It came. It was all on the radio.
It was such a Wild One was such a great record, and there was
Yeah.
other records on there too. We just, I mean, honestly, I can't really speak to what happened, but I love
Life.
that record. Yes, that, but you know, it was it was produced by the same production team, all the Touch of Jazz producers that produced Jill Scott's album.
Oh wow. Okay.
So it
Okay.
it had a really contemporary neo soul and soul kind of feel. They treated him very well, and the album is listenable to this day. It doesn't feel like it's
Mhm.
dated in any way, shape, or form. His voice is just so classic. I was
Right.
in the store the other day in Target, and there was a song that came on. I didn't even know the song, and I was like, "Oh, there's Darius."
Yeah.
It's
Right.
just like
Right. Wow.
that
Yeah.
voice. It's a
Yeah.
once in a generation kind of voice. It's infinitely uh, recognizable. But the
Yeah.
funny thing about him is he is indelibly etched in hip hop culture as well, from the Mace verse on More Money or Problems, which says "blow like Hootie," right?
Yes, yes, that's right. Wow.
Every time I think about that, it's hilarious. You're legendary in your own right, but you're legendary.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When you have your lyrical reference, then you know you've made it, right?
Hip hop has its own voice in, pop culture lexicon, the
Right.
culture, the essence. I
Mhm.
was exchanging uh, tweets with Tabby Mack from KJLH after
Mhm.
yesterday in the
Yeah.
wake of this Will Smith and Chris Rock situation. It was kind of hip hop though. Well, the exchange is hip hop, isn't it?
It's also part of my framing of, my response to it. It's
Yeah,
like no one should be 100% surprised.
yeah, right.
No one should be 100% surprised. Um, and let us say it this way. Let's be candid. This is one of the reasons why hip hop remains so popular
Yeah,
in the mainstream. It's because of its edginess.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
The 50s and the 60s, rock music was edgy.
yeah.
And that's the reason why the teenagers flocked to it, right?
Right, right,
And now you have this, hip hop remains edgy, pushing the boundaries of what's right or wrong.
right,
And,
right, right, right.
you know, and that's part of it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you try to put it into a bottle and it finds its way out.
Mhm, 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 mhm.
That's me
Man,
waxing poetic today.
that's right. Man,
Anyway,
Thornhill, this is so great to speak with you on today. We got to make some plans to get together. I mean, I just reminisce and am really, honored of the projects that we've been able to do together. And I know there's
yes.
a lot on the horizon that we can continue can do and continue to grow in this business together. But the stuff that we've done is, what I'm saying, is monumental, dude. We're like real international cultural ambassadors with the work and associations that we made.
It is so dear and dear to my heart. I don't, it sounds, kind of trivial to put it that way, but it's really the passions, when I wake up in the morning and I'm like, well, what's fueling me? A lot of it has to do with what's happening in music now as it comes to Africa and African artists. Our colleague, Dika Fumakang, has
Mhm.
introduced me to his friend, Stanley Eno.
Ah,
And um, Stanley has been at it since 2013, but he's from Cameroon. And, you know, 80% of the population in Cameroon speaks French. So a lot of his hits and stuff are in French. And he's nominated just last year for, Francophone Artist of the Year.
right.
And he really wants to come and be part of this pool. And so
Mhm.
I'm like, sure, let's roll up our sleeves and figure out how to get it done.
Mhm.
Um, it is and then there are people, other Americans just like us, who are, just as passionate about um, that musical space and helping to facilitate the growth of the genre here in the United States. It's one, I don't remember her last name, publicist. She's fantastic. Her name is Richard Dean.
Mhm.
We just get on the phone and it's like two little kids,
Mhm. Mhm.
just excited about what's next and what's coming in the pipeline, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, so more to come. Let's
Mhm.
make it back to Africa again soon.
Let's do it, man. Matter of fact, Ghana is coming back up, brother. We want to go in December.
Oh, okay.
I
Let's talk
so I
about
need
that.
to talk to you. I need to talk to you about that one because there
Yes,
are
let's
some
talk about
arts
Ghana in December.
intersections in that trip for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Well, Wakanda forever.
Wakanda forever, my brother. All right,
Anyway,
man.
this was
Hey, look.
fantastic. I gotta
Yes.
I gotta pack it up and get into my craziness out here in
Yep.
Miami. But I thank you for inviting me on. I thank you for honoring my little point of view on the slap hurled around the world.
Slap her
Um,
around the world, man.
I I I'm happy to have a voice that matters in all of this. But even more than that, as a black man in America, um, yeah, I understand all the nuances of it. But being part of the purveyors of culture, I think I have a more nuanced understanding um, of what is happening to us, and how all the voices that have come out pro and con are actually valid in their own right.
That's
What we
right.
did not talk about was, we had Will's apology on stage, then we had Will's crisis managed apology that appeared on social media, but we also had an apology from Chris. you know and when I saw that, I was like, okay, now we need to move on. But you know how the news cycle is, they'll drag it out for a little bit longer. And of course, the footage will always be,
I'm curious about
it'll
the
always be a
behind.
meme.
I'm curious about the behind the scenes. What does that conversation sound like?
Oh man, you have me on here for another 20 minutes.
All right, Thornell, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
It's
You
my
know how
pleasure.
you guys. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank
How do
you.
we get a hold of you there if folks want to reach out to you?
Oh man, I think it's probably best in today's context to either hit me up on Instagram at Thornell J. That's at Thornell J. You see my first name. Or if you're an email person, feel free to email me and just reference that you saw me talking on this show at Thornell at theovationagency.com.
Let me put that in the chat too. And then while I'm doing that, you all know that you can, what do you say, Thornell at the
I'm
Ovation
typing it
Agency?
now.
Okay.
The Ovation Agent Agency. My fingers are not working. Okay, that's my email. And then my Instagram is at Thornell J. And
Yes.
I do answer my DMs.
Haha, that's right. All right, y'all. Listen, you can get this on our page, Coffee Conversations with Greg J, Beach City Radio, Beach City Perspective, Hannibal Media Group, YouTube, LinkedIn. It's out there. You can get it right now. And then also, we're going to repurpose the audio later on today. Put that out there wherever you get your favorite podcast, Spreaker, iHeart, Google, just out there, Apple, I'm out there. I'm in the game. I don't know if you could hear me there. Could you hear me? No.
Yes. You
Okay.
are in the game. For sure,
All
for sure.
right, y'all.
And just let me just give you your roses for a second. I watched you pivot and continue to create. I love how the show is sponsored by the coffee company. I love how you have Beach City Radio down there in Long Beach, one of my favorite places in the world, not just in California, but the world. And how you have carved out a role for yourself on the Arts Council there. You are a voice in the community, and not just the local community, but this notion of having an international voice. I'm proud to call you friend, and I support you in any way that I can.
I support you too, my brother. And I promise you, when you're up there getting your Grammy or your Academy Award, I won't slap you. Thornell, you're the best. All right, y'all. Love one another. Love one another. Love one another. Peace and blessings.